Assumptions in this deal are going to need to be explained, re-examined by the proposer to determine if they even want to be in or not to be in after consideration of the deal expenses associated with transactions. But it is a reasonable assumption that they're not buying the extra land. The city team I've made, but it is not the reality. The extra land is intended to go under city control. When I use the word city and JRA are interchangeable from a guy from Denver's perspective, and that would, I think, give you more than you asked.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the commissioners or attorneys before we move to the next presenter? Thank you. Thank you.
You're right. Yeah, thanks.
All right. Yeah, next up is Transcontinental. Al, you come?
I'm right behind you. Where would you like? Good morning.
Morning.
My name is Alfred Crozier. I'm Executive Vice President of Transcontinental Consortium Investors. And as you all know, we've been involved in this deal for a long time, about 4 years. We've come in and we've assembled the land to accomplish the goal. And our goal and our vision for the Convention Center Hotel is more than just a hotel. It's the revitalization of the downtown. And we feel very strongly that conventioneers don't look at just a flag or they don't look at just a city, they look at a destination. And our goal is to revitalize approximately 4 city boxes assembled in the last 4 years. We've also made a commitment to do that. We've taken various individuals to the city to tour our mixed-use developments, and I can assure you that those products are first-class, A-plus developments. And Bob Swirling and other individuals have toured those developments. We unconditionally, irrevocably guarantee debt service, 100% on the hotel, and that's backed by the parent company, the public company, GCI. We see. Well, I was a little confused with the net assets and that conversation, but we far exceed $800 million in net assets. One thing that we're doing, and I think it's unprecedented in the industry, I don't know of any other development that's doing this. We are pledging for the first 10 years any NOI accumulated after debt service and expenses to be put in a lockbox as a reserve for the city. And we also have the reserves that cover more than 1 year of debt service. So we feel our development is very thought out. We've worked on it diligently for a period of time. We've worked with Doug Dale, and I did not realize today we were going to have another presentation, so I did not bring my whole team. I did have my attorney, Michael Corey. Didn't bring Doug this morning. But Doug, as you know, you're very well aware of him. He was the architect on the convention center, and he has worked very hard to make the design, which is illustrated in our presentation, to dovetail into the existing structure. And we've worked with the convention center on the size of the meeting room, or the breakout rooms. There's been discussion, we should have more, we should have less. We've gone through the gambit working to massage this to a level that we think is comfortable in the city as well, and the convention center. hopefully the JRA. We're just in the final negotiations. We're substantially complete with our negotiation with Starwood, with the Sheridan flag. We're very comfortable that upon prior to the issuance, that proposal will be inked and in place. We are prepared to close by the end of the year. We've worked diligently with professionals, getting the documents in place, working hard so that we can utilize the goes-on financing. It's not something that you can just do, snap your fingers and do. It's been a very detailed process, and we've worked very hard to get there. So we anticipate starting the development within 2 to 3 weeks after issuance of the bonds. That work will be starting to clean up the environmental, and Dugdale has got the drawings to a point that aren't totally complete, but to the point that we can start immediately and that we can get this development done within the time frame, which is 21 months. We've worked long and hard with different individuals at the city and city council on the diversity program. In our initial proposal, we exceeded the city requirements, and then we met with the city council and went over the diversity program, and Councilman Chokwa Amumba got with us and encouraged us to go further, and we had given our pledge that we will. What we anticipate doing is through the multi-tier arrangement of bonding minority contractors under Harold Construction, which is our general contractor, that we think we can achieve the maximum amount of participation on the minority participation that would exceed the proposal that we've is guaranteed. Harold has worked. He's been in this for almost 3 years. He has a GMAX contract. He's worked with the interior designers, the architects, the civil engineers to be certain that he has his costs in place. There was a question yesterday: why is our cost maybe a little more than our proposal? Well, one thing, and I don't know if you related to what Doug said yesterday, our product goes up 16 stories. There's a little cost associated with that. But we feel comfortable that we know what we're dealing with. I don't want to get tit-for-tat with our competition, but we also looked at the suite building. There's an underground creek that runs through that, and there were some environmental issues with that, and we elected not to go there for those reasons. So we have a more compact design with a sky bridge directly connecting to the convention center. But also the hotel's breakout rooms are an extension of the convention center. So we've worked very hard to make our development go hand in hand. And so we feel very strongly that our costs are very sharp, and we're confident that we can construct this in a timely manner and bring this hotel to development or to completion. This is what the city sorely needs with the convention center. You see articles where X number of dollars are being lost. Those are somewhat projections, but I can tell you that the convention center hotel will dramatically improve the performance of the convention center. One thing on the jobs, we had worked with the flag and to start a mentoring program for young individuals at universities, Jackson State, around, to come in and learn the trade. Hopefully, Jackson will prosper and those young people can stay in Jackson and not go to other cities. I know Chokwa's, some of his responses were that he didn't want us to create a development and push out the local individuals. You know, we are committed to building a hotel, providing good local jobs during construction and jobs through the, you know, the course, the life cycle of the hotel. On experience, Bob came and met with our majority stockholder, and we have over 150 hotels that we've done in the past. So we have a vast amount of experience in the hospitality industry. So I want to close with this. You know, it's been a long road. We're committed. You have our unconditional guarantee. You know, we want to be good, work with the city to make this a thriving part of downtown. You know, we're committed to building additional mixed-use development, and I think our proposal is very strong. And I would invite anybody to any questions.
I wanted to know, is your proposal viable without the use of the GO zone and bonds? I have another.
We feel that the proposal is much stronger. Our majority stockholder has said that he doesn't see us going forward without the GO zone. I mean, there's always, never say never, but it's so far much a better economic benefit to the city and to us as the developer to go with the GO zone bonds. And we are in place to get that accomplished by the end of the year.
But that's a no, right?
That
would be a no. Is
Yeah.
that correct? Okay. The other one that I wanted to ask you about, the mentoring program, you talked about it. I want to know your experience in this mentoring program in other places that you've done this before, and how's it worked out? Give us some numbers and things.
I don't know that we've done that before, but we have discussed this with the flag, and so the flag has done that on numerous occasions, the flag being Sheridan. And we had also looked at another flag earlier in the process, and we expressed our commitment to do that. So we would be relying on the hotel manager to help us with it.
So this will be your first time actually doing a mentoring program?
That's correct. That's correct.
Since we just seem to get into semantics of now, let me ask you, are you asking this in terms, does mentoring mean employing minorities?
Oh, I'm talking about the whole gamut. You know, sometimes when we have meeting minority participation, there's so many definitions of minority participation. And I am talking about to the extent where there's a real footprint that's left as a result of a developer coming in and training, hiring people to do substantive work. That's what I'm talking about. Because for me, what that says is that, you know, that's something that you can hang your hat on later as you go to other places. But if you're saying that this is something that we're planning, people come in with proposals and they say, well, you know, I'm going to do that because the city requires a certain level of minority participation. So I'm not accusing. I'm simply giving you my concerns around that.
I will tell you, I've given my pledge to Councilman Lumumbo that we will do that. And it was, and I'll have to commend him, it was at his urging.
But I don't want it to be a pledge to a councilman. We're talking about a pledge to a city that, like if he hadn't spurred you on, that maybe that
We may have not
conversation
done that.
would
I
not
will
have
be
happened,
I will be
is what I'm
brutally
saying.
honest. But we've been here. We spent a lot of money. We're trying to get this deal done, and the city JSA has my commitment that we will follow through on that.
Thank you.
Other questions from commissioners? Yeah. Comments?
I had a couple questions on your financials in this kind of speaks toward the guarantees and financial stability and worthiness. Two things. One of which is I'm just looking at this is first 9 months, the 10Q from this year. This is ending in September. It looks like obviously the most of your assets are real estate, which makes sense in the real estate business, and that your shareholder equity fell by $50 million. Is that right? Looks like 169.
I didn't bring my financial advisor
169
today,
to 118. I give you this. Just so if I'm reading it right.
So, page 3.
Page
What page you on?
3. Not that $118 million isn't a lot of money for shareholders' equity.
Well, let me speak to shareholders' equity. About 85% of the stock is owned by one company, and so that leaves roughly.
It's an affiliated company, I'm sure, or outside owner. Or?
Family trust, one company, but Porter, has been into this in detail. But our stock price, and I have to be careful because of SEC regulations, but we believe that our stock price does not totally reflect the capitalization of the company. And so while with the accounting standards on public company, you have to write down any bad assets. But if you have, say, apartments, for instance, which we have a lot of apartments, they're only valued at the acquisition price, not the sales price. So the actual stock value or the value of the company far exceeds the shareholder price.
Yeah, that's equity, shareholder equity, but it's really just net equity, not share. That doesn't really speak to stock price. Your market cap is like it's what $2 or something a share,
About $2.
and you've got how many shares? Let's say 8 million or something.
8 million.
So for $16 million, somebody could buy your company, right? Should buy the stock. I mean,
if the stock was traded,
right, and one person
and if
owns
the stock
all,
is not traded, there's probably on an average 800 to 1,000 shares are traded on a monthly basis. So that's
right. So it's really
very thinly traded.
Closely held is about what it sounds like.
That's-
Who? We can go look it up. Who is it that owns it?
Well, it's one company, and there's some family trust. I couldn't, tell you exactly. We've had our CFO here to go over that with, numerous times. He's gone over it with Porter.
Basically, Gene Phillips, his family, and yeah.
There's others, but that's probably the family owns the majority.
So I guess I'm going to point that out toward the, how substantial are either of these guarantees. That's what we have to look toward. Right. If it all goes bad, what happens? That's the way to look at a deal.
We was in the real estate business.
And other businesses too.
Lawyer doesn't stop. Real simple.
Other commissioners, other questions or comments for Al? attorneys? Consultants?
Bob, you have any questions?
No, come on.
Your time.
I guess my first question is one that your attorneys may be able to answer better than, I'm not sure. My first, there's been continual discussion, and I can see the interest on the part of the board members and commissioners with respect to whether or not there's a willingness to go beyond the end of the year into taxable debt. The way the purchase, the land purchase structured is it is required to be closed by the end of the year, and the commission should be aware of that. Whether or not that period can be extended is a question first for legal and then a question for TCI. So just to fully inform the commission of the considerations here, in order for them to sell the land at the predetermined price, the deal needs to close financially by the end of the year. The commissioners should also note that the bond offer does not mention any company, since you have not chosen a company yet. Just says the company. So, Lucian, I would turn to you and ask you a question as to whether or not it needs to close by the end of the year, or not. And I'm not going to express an opinion on the purchase contract.
Well, the purchase contract has a provision in it that TCI has to be paid by the end of the year.
Please tell us who you are.
Oh, I'm sorry. Lucian Boys Law Law Firm. So it has to be closed on by the end of the year. TCI could better answer if that would be extended or if it would be compensated on something other than bond proceeds as far as it relates to the purchase price of the land.
I assume you want me to respond to that. Yes, we can work. We've looked at trying to do a soft closing. The main thing's getting the bond sold, and we realized that the land transaction may leak over into the first week or two in January.
Al, you're answering the question assuming that you win the process.
That's correct.
Then the question goes to whether or not you'd extend the purchase contract into next year if somebody else were to win the transaction.
I couldn't answer that question at this time. I'd have to consult with the company on that. But obviously, we've worked really hard to assemble this land. We assembled the land prior to the economic meltdown, and so we would consider it, but I could not address that this time.
I raised an issue before the Finance Committee and before the Project Committee yesterday with respect to the nature of the bonding arrangement, the guarantees that be available during the construction period. If a large event were to occur that would challenge your ability, other than a limited force majeure extension to the completion date. I spoke with Mike Harrell last night. The commission will have further information on the concern that I raised. Harrell Construction is willing to bond the project completely. I was a little bit confused by an email that went out this morning concerning the bondability, but my concern is that I expressed to the committee yesterday is somewhat alleviated with more detail needed. And Al, I would expect that whomever is providing the bond would be able to sit with directly and discuss the nature of that bond.
Absolutely.
The email this morning that I received this morning listed a large number with respect to money that's already been spent that would need to be reimbursement of bond proceeds. Can you give the committee any detail? Perhaps I should speak.
Who sent the email?
The email was sent by the developer.
By who?
By the developer? By their fee developer.
By whom to whom?
I did not send you.
It was sent by your contract employee.
I have not seen that email. I got 50-something emails in my pocket.
Is there
We have two proposed developers.
I'm sorry.
You're talking about from the proposals, when you say developer, you're talking about one of these two.
Well, I'm talking about this
TCI.
party's developer.
Okay.
I'm not familiar with what you're referring to, Bob.
It's an issue before we'd be prepared to give final recommendation if solicited. We would want to get some detail. There's approximately $6 million, $4.5–6 million to $6 million that's already been spent, is what the email indicated. That needs to be reimbursed out of bond proceeds. And just what those expenses are and whether or not they're financeable is a determination for you to make with the city and the bond council.
I didn't receive an email. I can't speak to it.
I don't think I've received the email, so I don't know what you're referring to.
There's kind of a big number to be reimbursing if something does or does not occur. So
No, it's not. It's only contingent upon the financing and their choice occurring. It's nothing that they would be able to take.
I can tell you that there's no reimbursables that we're requesting that's not outlined in this proposal.
Okay, and as I said, I've only just received the email. It's information we have to understand.
Can we ask our attorney? I'm telling you, sir.
I've got no awareness of it. What I believe he's talking about is probably an employee that must have sent them emails, perhaps.
But a pool's coming.
Well, no, there's no reimbursables that we're asking for that is not outlined in this proposal. I don't know what.
Okay, so if that's the case, we just simply need to be able to advise the board, and you need to be able to talk to the attorneys about whether or not they're permissible expenses.
Okay,
Well, I mean, certainly if anything in the proposal is not, I'm Michael Corey for Danksman and Corey. If there's anything in the proposal, and I represent TCI as outside counsel, if there's anything in the proposal that is not reimbursable, it's not going to be reimbursed.
Absolutely.
I believe everything has been vetted at this point.
So the budget then in your proposal is subject to amendment for whatever is non-reimbursable.
Well, yes, I would agree. Obviously, we can't do what we can't do under the law, so.
That resolves it for me, then if it does for the group.
It brings up more questions for this group.
I can tell you our proposal speaks for itself. There's no.
Pardon? I thought Greg was pointing at me, asking me to say something.
I'm looking at our attorneys, and I want somebody to say something.
They're looking it up.
Yeah,
I'll make a comment. Yeah. We have advised the board that we will not participate in any transaction in which a lease is awarded to TCI pursuant to the RFP that y'all adopted on November 23rd. It's been reported in the paper that the reason for that was based on a 15 or 30-day question. There was a 15 or 30-day issue. Our advising the authority that we will not participate, however, was based on our determination that overall, taking into account the request proposals, the purchase contract, and some of the issues under anyone else winning it under the purchase contract were just addressed by Bob, that it's very difficult for someone else to get a lease if everything's got to be closed by the 29th. And the default provisions, including would let TCI default on, you give a 10-day notice, you're past the end of the year. Those are some of the concerns. There are others based on the documents that were approved last week that indicated that the same party was going to convey the property and then lease it back, which obviously presupposed a decision on the request for proposal. Based on all of our concerns, though, and I just briefly hit the highlights, we concluded that we would advise the authority that it would not be legally permissible to enter into an agreement with DCI and pursuant to that request proposals, and we advise the authority that we will not participate in any transaction which includes a lease to TCI awarded under that request for proposals.
So, have those been, in your view, borne out because of the process with another proposal?
Well, another proposal.
You understand what I'm asking?
Yeah. There's another proposal. How many other proposals would have been received on a broader RFP? I can't say. And the question of whether the conditions to purchasing the property under the purchase agreement can be met by another proposer are still of great concern.
Presently, the board has before it 2 proposals to consider, and I would propose that at some point when the board is ready to consider those 2 proposals, that we probably have to go into an executive session to discuss some of these matters that have been discussed right now. But nevertheless, the board will have these two proposals before them, they have the two developers before them. There's no decision that's been made one way or another. The board has to make that decision based on the information that's before them. Fortunately, you have two proposals that are before you that are appear to be relatively competent. And the board can make an objective decision based on the information